Hey, so this is my interview with Caleb Peinado, who's a really interesting and amazing artist, acid, brain dancey, IDM, just jazzy, really interesting artist who released his debut album, Music for Esports, on my label ZOiD. And it's a really interesting interview, so check it out. And I wanted to say thank you for watching and anyone liking and leaving a comment and all that. Really, I really appreciate it. It helps other people see and find the channel and all that. So here's the interview. Enjoy. Oh, there we go.
There we go.
Cool. Okay, so this is the first time I'm doing like an interview for my YouTube channel, and this is gonna be fun and interesting because this is Caleb Peinado who released his album Esports on my label ZOiD pretty recently. Came out like about 2 months ago or a month and a half, and he knows a lot about music, especially music that I love, like Aphex Twin and Luke Vibert and stuff like that. I'm gonna pick his brains about all that stuff. So, welcome, Caleb.
Glad to be here.
So let's like hear a bit about your background first, like when you got into music and when you like when you first started playing. I know you play guitar, so when did you start playing guitar and when did you get into electronic music?
Guitar, 8 years old. Got my first guitar for my birthday. Um, and it was a right-handed guitar, but I'm a lefty, so I taught myself playing backwards. Um, and that's a fun little detail. I'm one of those weirdos.
Well, like
Play it all.
strings upside down, you mean?
Yeah, all wrong.
Like Elizabeth
Yeah,
Cotton.
exactly. hmm So I like bending a lot. But
Do you
yeah,
still
eight
play
years
like that
old.
now?
Oh yeah, I committed.
Wow.
I didn't know I was doing it wrong till maybe a month in. Um, and yeah, I just went with it. And
That's
uh,
very unusual.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's fun. It's weird to look in a mirror and see it. Even trips me up. Looks doesn't look like what my
So
heroes were doing.
I show my students sometimes, Freight Train, Elizabeth Cotton, and quite a few of them have learned that. Actually, it's brilliant. Love Freight Train, but it's
Mhm.
always mad looking at her playing it with the
Yeah,
thumb, the melody, and the fingers picking the bass.
I don't know how she Travis picks because I refuse to. I try, but
Yeah. So
I have to fake it.
do you use your fingers or do you use a pick?
Yeah, but I use fingers.
Huh.
More fun, more
Oh,
expressive.
we got to hear some of your guitar playing.
Yeah,
Grab your
yeah.
guitar there.
I'll have to make a video or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 8 years old, did you just self-taught?
Yep. Yep. I tried to learn. I tried to take lessons, but it didn't really work. So uh, it wasn't until middle school I was on YouTube and I found this Joe Satriani video talking about modes, and that was like a huge before and after moment with theory and like understanding the guitar. Um, so yeah, when I was like 12, 13, that's when it really went up a notch, and I was no longer just trying to play Led Zeppelin riffs and power chords.
So when you
It
heard
became like,
Joe talk about modes, then did you learn them? How did you learn them? Like,
oh, I learned them from this video. He just broke down, I knew the major and minor scale. I knew those two, but Lydian having Lydian be referred to as a sharp fourth, I could understand enough of that. So I learned all those little modes just using those little, scale degree uh, modifications. describe. And guitar was kind of a monophonic instrument for me for like maybe the next 4 years. I was really into metal and shredding, trying to learn all that string skipping, blah blah blah, crazy, flashy Paul Gilbert stuff. Um, and then got more into like blues and learned chords finally. But yeah, middle school, high school, that was when I was really going hard at guitar, practicing
Were you
all
playing
day.
in bands at the time?
No, I had one little short-lived rock band um, in high school, kind of like Pink Floyd-esque jams, you know, just some Dorian Dorian jams. Um, but yeah, just a lot of loop pedal at home crap, you know.
Cool.
Yeah, and then had like a Yamaha PSR keyboard also, so dabbled in keys um, and little organs. But, but yeah, guitar was my baby. I played French horn and trumpet too in like high school, middle school band,
Oh,
and
nice. Are they
yeah, I've been actually.
French horn is difficult, I believe.
It is not easy.
Yeah.
I've been playing more though. I've been working on it.
Oh,
It's
nice.
it's fun. It's
And
yeah, it's so warm.
what about trumpet? Still play?
I've got a trumpet, but it doesn't it doesn't blow my mind like a French horn, you know. But
Yeah.
for recording purposes, I can bust out the trumpet, do some overdubs.
That
But I
must
like
be
the
it
French
must
horn.
be hard as well, like trumpet to keep the chops up.
That's the annoying part. That your stamina just goes down the drain if you don't play. Yeah.
But yeah, I always wanted to play the trumpet though. That is a very just so loud and it's tiny.
Yeah. Yeah. But when you stacks of brass instruments are amazing. It's like a sawtooth wave,
Yeah,
Just
that's
it's huge.
class. That's class. I actually just put a proposal together for the Arts Council here in Ireland to, if I get it, then next year I'm going to record a wind quartet, which will include French horn and clarinet and bassoon and um, oboe and flute as well. So French horn kind of, even though it's kind of brass, but it's also woodwinds.
Mm-hmm.
It's in well
Yeah,
with
it
them.
gets lumped in with woodwinds. It's so
Yeah,
mellow.
yeah.
Yep.
So
Yeah, it
that's
can be the
class.
softest. Can be so soft, so long, so loud too, so huge, right?
Yeah,
It's got
that's
the
pretty.
biggest timbral and pitch range of all the brass. It's incredible.
So that's interesting. Did you play in bands like on the wind instruments?
No, no, I didn't even practice. I just played at school, uh, you know, just at school. And yeah, I was a big band was huge for me though, because I got to be the TA, teacher's assistant in middle school. And that's when I started playing piano a little bit. I would work really hard, get all my work done so I could just play piano. And that's when I worked out like pitch recognition and, you know, uh, modes on the keys. On guitar, they were a little different. It wasn't the same. A keyboard is just, there's one way to hit the note. There isn't six different places to hit E flat.
Yeah.
It was big unlock for me understanding theory. Um,
That's pretty good that your school like taught that stuff. I suppose like in Ireland, we don't get, I don't know. Well, like we have a different school system. We have just like primary school and secondary school, and you're talking about like middle school. What kind of age is middle school?
oh, middle school is, let's see, it's only two grades. Sometimes it's three, six, seventh, and eighth, but I had just seventh and eighth grade, which is ages like 11 through 13.
Right.
Yep.
So that's class. So you had a band class where people were able to choose what instrument they wanted to do,
Yep.
and what
Yep.
would you play? Would you play like jazz?
We jazz band was an optional elective. I don't know if you have electives
No, we
where you
don't.
are. It's a bonus. It's like a bonus class you can take that's outside of school hours.
Right.
That was in high school. You could do jazz band, but yeah, basically in grade 5, which is like 9, 10 years old, you that's when band starts, and you're just doing basic concert band, like hot cross buns, and then
Right.
uh, middle school you still are just concert band, and then high school is when you get to do marching band and pep band, which is for sporting events. That was the real fun. And then jazz band was like, all the people who really cared would do jazz band. And you
Did you
come in an hour before school and play like Autumn Leaves and Besame Mucho.
did you
You
do
know,
that?
yeah, I play guitar in jazz band though, so it was a little break from the woodwinds.
Nice, nice. And so that's just really interesting to me, because like I think what you're describing, like in Dublin, there's probably a couple of bands like that existed. Like I know there's the Artane used to be called the Artane Boys Band. I knew a couple of musicians who went to that, but it was like super niche, like maybe only just a tiny fraction of people would do that. It wouldn't be in your school, it would be you have to go somewhere probably on the weekend to be in a band. I never ever like even heard or came across the opportunity, but I would have loved it. It's really
Yeah.
interesting.
Wow. I'm surprised. I feel like Europe's more arts oriented.
Probably some places are. Like I know in
Yeah.
Scandinavia they have good programs and like you can play whatever instrument you want and they give you the instrument, but not Ireland. Ireland is not like that.
Uh,
But it's pretty cool that you could do that. So then, but that's interesting. Like, so were you writing your own stuff already at that time?
um, no, I wouldn't say so. I was wanting to. I remember wanting to do a pet band arrangement of Daft Punk for the basketball games, but yeah, I didn't start writing till high school, and I wrote some really corny, like singer-songwriter, like John Mayer kind of stuff. Um, which I still have the recordings. They're locked away, secret in a secret location. Uh, that was yeah. The first things I wrote were like James Taylor, John Mayer, and Carole King inspired. Major seventh chords, and all that stuff.
Sounds nice. Nice.
Yeah, yeah. But the lyrics were god awful because I listened to a lot of hip hop growing up, so they are all like rhymey and just edgy, angsty, blah, forbidden.
And what about the other side of like Carole King and James Taylor? Did you inherit those tastes from your parents or did you just like it?
Actually, no. Listening to this radio station that played, they were ad free. They're still up and about. It's a FM station that has no ads and it's all donation ran, and they just play golden oldies. They just play stuff from 58 to 89. That's where it was actually on the way to jazz band. Um, in the car on the way, that's where I discovered the station. So I didn't know anything about Motown or soul music or any of that mellow gold music from the 70s until then. And then I just dove deep. But the music I grew up on was like, Limp Bizkit, Linkin Park, like really trashy, American 90s music, Eminem, uh, just hip hop and rap and metal and country. So,
Very different to myself. So did you like well what about jazz? Did you get into jazz in a big way at a point?
yes, yeah, I would say through jazz band. Um, that was like a doorway into that. I never really gotten anything specific. I just like, and still, I'm still kind of that way. I just like the uh, here and there, like obviously, like West Montgomery blows my mind. There's a couple, but I can't really name more than one song. But yeah, I like the big band stuff. I like Buddy Rich and Glenn Miller, those those huge sax, you know, solis and all that crap. Duke Ellington, but I'm not very learned in specifics. But but I would say when I do jazz stuff, in composition, it is kind of by necessity, which is probably what they were doing. Just bored with diatonic convention. Let me let me put some math in it. See what happens. But yeah, I
When
know
I
a little bit.
in
But
guitar playing, would you have like learned? Would you have played any Wes stuff or done transcriptions and like done, you know, played jazz standards?
yeah, in jazz band we did that. But I kind of faked it. I just played seven chords and major sides. Yeah, I couldn't tell you a sharp 11 flat augmented 9. I would like to. That's my next whenever I end up going to school, that's what I want to go for. Just so I can really know what I'm doing 100%.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
So outside jazz band, you weren't playing with any jazz with anyone.
No, no, there wasn't really any people either to share that with. It was
Yeah.
just like rock and punk bands, you know.
And did you have good teachers in the with the jazz band? Did you have like anyone who's inspiring?
Yeah, my teacher was awesome. He knew he knew I had like a gift, and he would try to like keep me humble. It did not work, but he knew I had something. And yeah, I guess I got it. He kind of helped me realize I had what you call perfect pitch, which I don't really believe in, but he called me out in the band class one day and had me name the pitches he was playing, and I knew them. Um, so I thought I was God's gift, but in with age, I'm realizing that it's it's not as black and white as I might have read it was when I was a child. It's like pitch recognition can be learned, and it's a whole spectrum of sometimes I'm flat, sometimes I need to warm up. There's all sorts of things, but it's a it's a nice tool to have. Great little thing. So yeah, he was huge for that, and just uh, helping me stay as humble as possible. But
Cool. That's
uh,
very interesting about the perfect pitch. I'm the opposite. I really like struggled with my ear, when I was playing guitar as a teenager. I didn't have a good ear up to when I was 18. And then I went to study after school, went to study jazz, and my ear was like bad. And I had to do loads of ear training. Like I did an hour a day for 2 years to get to pass my exams and got a good ear after doing all that. But not
mhm.
for, nowhere near been, well, it's interesting what you say, like say more about that, how you don't believe in perfect pitch.
Yeah, I mean, it's I don't know. When I would read about it when I was younger, it seemed that it was believed that it was like you had to be born with it. You couldn't learn it. I think that those theories have gone out the window at this point. But yeah, it's just you have things you're fixated on, I guess, at certain ages, and pitch recognition happened to be mine. So, but yeah, it's not it's not always consistent. Sometimes I think E is E flat,
Right.
vice versa.
Well,
Um,
when you say you got fixated on it, like, was there, what age were you when that happened, and how did you do it?
I was probably 12, 13. I don't know how I did it, but playing the piano on my free time at school, that helped. That helped me realize how things went together.
Yeah.
You know, just hearing someone say that there's only 12 notes, and that blew my mind. It's like it can't be too hard. There's only 12 of them. You know, only 12 of these things.
When you hear a note, do you hear a difference in notes in something apart from pitch and timbre? Do you like hear a shape or a color or
Um, Sometimes there is definitely a mood, with keys. Like G minor to me is it's more like a dwarven pub than A minor. There's, there's weird little things like G minor feels epic and F minor feels clean, and you know E minor reminds me of the guitar, and uh, A flat minor is like the underdog. A flat anything for me is it's the underdog key. It's rejected. Um, B yeah. There's goofy little associations with all the keys. Um,
that's great.
yeah,
It's great. It's
yeah.
it's like from the science of it that I'm not an expert in it, but I've looked into it a bit, and it was very interesting. Like I don't know if you saw Rick Beato's series of videos on perfect pitch and his son Dylan. Have you seen those?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
He's insane.
yeah. His perfect pitch is really well developed, but then Rick seems to do a good job of explaining it. But he does say that like the that window where you can develop it, like everyone can develop it, but the window is when you're very young, which, up 0 to 1 or something, you're hearing the pitches and you get the ability to like hear them later on. But did you have someone playing piano when you were a baby?
Not at all. No, no, no real, not really musical household. I know I got the genetics on both sides, but yeah, no music until, guitar for my 8th birthday. I got,
Same, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of interesting. There was this ear training course that I got once that by this guy who had claimed that he developed perfect pitch like later on when he was a teenager, and he had this whole method to it, and it was like different shapes for each of the notes. And anyway, I did try to follow that course, but my ear got better, but not to any point where I could like tell a note from another one. But it's all just curiosity. The the main thing I got from that course though was like the guy was really clear about how absolute pitch on one hand is like interesting, but relative pitch is more important, and that's the one everyone can develop, relative pitch. And even if you have the absolute pitch, then if you just rely on that and therefore don't develop relative pitch, which is what a lot of people do, then you're
Yep.
you're missing something, so you have to work on the relative stuff. So that made sense.
Yeah. That is the useful thing is the relative pitch, you know, pitch memory. Yeah. It's it's just I'm lucky. I feel lucky. I don't it used to be maybe my ego huge. I thought I was special, but it's just that I got lucky. So now it just helps.
When do you remember hearing electronic music for the first time?
I would say Daft Punk around the world actually. Like, my sister driving us around. We thought it was funny because they said this around the world over and over. But yeah, Daft Punk when I was, 6 or 7. That was definitely my first the homework era. First first taste of that, of repetitive, dance music. Because, I would lump in hip hop with electronic, but I know that's not what you mean. Um, but yeah, Daft Punk for sure. Um,
Yeah, I mean,
Trying to think if there's
there
anything
is a
else.
big crossover with it. I was never into hip hop myself, but like
Mm.
later on, a lot of the electronic people like Dan Curtin or whatever, they would have come from hip hop into
Yeah.
like electro or other things, and the 808s were in there in the hip
Oh
hop
yeah.
production. Very very
Yep.
similar sounds, different tempos maybe, but
Yeah. Much different tempos. But yeah, it's yeah, same technology, just
yeah.
totally different approach. But yeah, Daft Punk first, you know, first taste of that. Um,
Did you listen to the whole Homework album?
Not at that age, but in middle school, that's when I kind of like deep dove into all of Daft Punk's work, and you know, they were like it was a renaissance for them, for me.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so yeah, but I still didn't know anything about a drum machine or anything. It was all mystical to me how that music happened.
Did you go through the
Yeah.
teachers track and track down everyone on the list?
I should have would have gotten the Beach Boys sooner, but yeah, yeah, they were kind of isolated too. I wasn't really into any other electronic then.
Right. Do you
No.
still listen to Daft Punk ever now?
Oh yeah, I'm actually after this interview, I'm going to a practice for a cover band. We're going to do Daft Punk New Year's.
Oh, great.
So
Nice.
yeah, it's a funny coincidence, but yeah, they I still definitely listen to them. Homework's my favorite overall. It's
Yeah.
just so minimal, so crispy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
The first time I heard Daft Punk was seeing the video for the what's the Big City Nights track? Is that what it's called? With the
Is
dog
it the
head.
funk?
Yeah,
Yeah, the funk.
Defunct. Yeah, Defunct, where
Yep.
the dog is going around. It was
Hmm.
yeah, Spike Jones made the video. And that video was like it was so weird and interesting. It was like, what is this?
Yeah,
Track was just like sometimes it's just playing low in the background, on his ghetto blaster. And I was like, the video was a really big element of that. I was like, whoa, this is amazing.
yeah, yeah. That song, without knowing, that was my first taste of acid.
Right.
It's like it's cool. Yeah, that's a banger.
Yeah, big time. When did you start listening to like Aphex and Luke Fiber and stuff like that?
I would say, the first like most, window liquor was the first thing I heard. I guess that's not like most people my age maybe. Window liquor blew my mind. I heard it 2014 actually, like pretty late. Um, and I kind of forgot about it. And then maybe 2016, I was like, I gotta check all this guy's music out. So deep dove, got into Cheetah EP had just come out. Um, I really liked that. I really like Syro. Um, I would ride my so I had this ritual where I'd ride my bike and listen to Aphex Twin, get into them, So then I just went through all the albums, all the SoundCloud, all that stuff, um, and then wanted to see what was associated with Aphex. So then I found Luke Viber, Scilab, Square Pusher, all that. Um, yeah. So yeah, 2016. That's when I deep dove, and then I didn't listen to anything but that stuff for the next like 4 years. It consumed me. Um, and that was the same time when I got the Chord Mini Log and the Volca sample. Still didn't have a computer, and I didn't want one, but I was just brute forcing it, using a loop pedal, um,
Were you
doing
not,
whatever I could to
what about sequencing? Did you sequence?
sequencing. I'd say the first sequencer was the Volca sample, but that's so bare bones as a sequencer.
Right.
Um, it had the motion sequence though, which blew my mind. parameter lock type thing. Um, and then let's see, I was using Audacity, because I didn't want to dive into a DAW. I was afraid of the options, so I got really into that gridless, just meditative, taking tiny pieces of wave files and moving them around, you know, 2 hours for 15 seconds of music type stuff. Um, and that was the era, my former musical alias Ultrasound Moms, the USM4 album was a compilation of all of that, like those 4 years of just not knowing anything about what I was doing, trying to make everything distorted and punchy, uh, fixing it in Audacity.
Yeah,
Um,
that's an interesting way to work. There was a big thing about how Burial was supposed to have made everything just with SoundForge, just with a
yeah,
sound editor in the same way as you're describing.
yeah, using transients, that was my grid.
Yeah,
Yeah,
which it
and
does make you focus on, like, I did it like just for one or two tracks, but they probably were like the best mixes that I ever came up with, because you're just you're kind of make it just has to sound good constantly. You can't just like, "Oh, I'll add another layer, now I'll add another layer." You can't do
yeah,
that.
yep. You have time. Same with menu diving kind of workflows. You have time to think about the value of what you're doing. Think about, is this actually worth my time? So if you are willing to spend 4 hours on this little thing, it must be decent. It must be moving. It's great for that. For
And you can't go backwards as easily, once
no,
it's got.
it's destructive. That was
Yeah.
I didn't know that non-destructive was a thing while I was doing this. I was like, man, I would have to, make backup WAV files of everything unaffected. And my computer's full of crazy just WAV files I don't need. It was insane, 120 tracks in Audacity, just ridiculous stuff. Crashed my computer because it was too much. And then after I released the USM4 compilation, I got a BeatStep Pro and the TD3, and was sequencing. I happened to come across a DX21 for free, a broken DX21, but it worked enough. Um, so sequencing that, the TD3, the mini log, and the Volca. Um, then I had like a legit sequencer, was doing some little little minimal acid jams on that. Um, then I got the computer, the laptop, and wanted to learn Renoise as my DAW, because I had learned that Apex used a tracker for all that crazy busy stuff. I wanted to understand it, so got into Renoise, and that's when I first released music under just my name. And yeah, my first not, I wouldn't say hi-fi, but not lo-fi releases, using software and quantized stuff.
So using
And
Renoise, like, what have you used, like, DAWs that are kind of what, like horizontal MIDI programming
yeah,
stuff as well since then?
yep, I was using Logic actually at the same time as Renoise. That's why I got a MacBook, so I could use Logic. It seemed simple. I started with GarageBand,
Yeah.
went to Logic. Um, so yeah, I was using them both, kind of Renoise for the tronic, Logic for the guitar and singing stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and I
So
did some MIDI sequencing, but it is not as fun
so
clicking things.
So,
Renoise
like,
detected.
why is why does it sound so different when you sequence beats on a tracker compared? Because, like, I haven't done much, but Bogdan Raczynski stuff or Drux or all the music that I know that was made on a tracker is this like got this level of tightness and detail, and the rhythms just sound amazing on it. Like, why is that?
Yeah. Uh, it it is extremely. It can be the resolution can be as extreme as you need, or it can be as basic. I keep mine at 64 note resolution. But basically, everything you're doing happens on one page. It happens on one display. There's different, editing waveforms is on a different screen. But as far as the composition, the panning, the volume, and the pattern commands like retrigger, pitch up, pitch down, they all happen on the same lane. So you can really quickly, once you get it down with all the hotkeys and stuff, you can really do some massive edits that would take way more time in a DAW. And it's all just letters and numbers, so it feels like a game when you get all the commands down. It is really fun. You can compose without listening, just using your eyes, just using the lines, and um yeah, you can really get it. You can shift timing, you can do triplets, rolls, all sorts of things, uh dynamics with volume. It all happens right there, in its own little lane. uh,
I'm
so
gonna have to,
yeah,
yeah, I'm gonna have to give that a go again.
yeah, it's
Sounds
it's
good.
incredible. You would love it. And for slicing up drum breaks and anything, it's just so quick, and everything, all of your data is entered with the keyboard. And when you enter something, basically the beat, it goes to the beat, the next beat, and the next beat, and the next beat. So it's like you're not clicking things in, you're typing things in, and it's moving with you at a specified rate too. So you want to type in all your snares for a basic backbeat, you make it skip this many lines. So, or your hi-hats, and you just keep doing that and doing that. It's ridiculous. And then the real fun is resampling things. You can highlight any chunk, resample that chunk. And now all of these little MIDI notes become one thing, and it's an audio recording of what you just did. And so doing that with your hardware, it's just even more, it's limitless. It's ridiculous. Um, and music for esports was the first time I had, or no, Renoise 2, the black one. That was when I had first hardwared it out. And so music for esports was everything. It was hardware, software, whatever, no rules. And the whole time I was making these, I had a weird rule: no MIDI controller, just only QWERTY, only the computer keyboard, which is incredibly clumsy, but it it had that effect where I had to take my time a little bit and value what I was doing.
Would you record, like, if you wanted to record a filter sweep on something or something like that, would you record that in audio rather than doing a MIDI automation thing?
If I liked the filter sweep on the hardware, I would do that. But generally, I would just keep every filter open, wide open, so I could roll it off later with a Renoise filter. Um,
Oh,
because it's like, it's if it sounded, real enough to me, it was fine. But there's certain filters that you want to get that real sweep on. But the mini log, like, whatever, that filter's fine, but it's nothing too special. It's
yeah,
crunchy. It's a Mini log's funny. It's a crunchy synth. It's a mid range synth.
yeah.
It's But with the mixer, yeah, I had all this stuff going into the Boss BX8, which is that, I had in my Apex forensic era found that he was using that a lot. Used one on Syro even. So I had to get it. It's the 8-track mono mixer with two effect sends that distorts really nicely.
Huh.
When you get everything crunching into that at the same time, there's something magic happening in there.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
What that's called a boss what?
The Boss BX8, and there's a BX16, there's a BX6, there's all sorts of different track amounts they have, but yeah, some just 90s corny little plastic mixer that
Yeah.
just does something great.
That one
I
like
know they,
listed on the Syro gear list.
yep, yep. I was doing my browsing through the gear list and found something I could afford. I had to buy it. I had to buy it. So
Man,
yeah,
a lot of that gear is expensive. Is there anything else you found that in that list that you could afford?
um, I don't think so. No, but there's some beautiful things on that list, like the EMT reverbs and so many things. The the modified 606, to be like an 808. That thing's beautiful.
Huh.
That's one of his secret weapons, the Roland 666, I think they call it.
How is it
Uh,
modified, or is it like a
God,
standard mod?
it's got a lot of stuff on it, a lot of knobs. Just you can mess with the parameters on the drums more, make it more like an 808, to kick decay, snare,
Oh,
snare
is there someone
stuff.
specific who does that modification?
Oh, I'm sure. I think the Cyro Bonkers interview, he probably mentions the guy who did it. Um, I don't think it's the Devilfish guy, but yeah, I think the person who does it is mentioned, but I'm sure there's people that have learned it.
Must
Um,
find out. That sounds like something to do.
yeah, yeah, the 608 has also been called, so there might be a few different ones, but
Yeah.
yeah, the 606 hi-hats are just tremendous. So I
Yeah.
could see why you want that to be more flexible.
Yeah. I mean,
But
yeah, getting that done would be super duper.
yeah,
606, one of the more affordable of the old Roland
yeah,
gear.
love the
707.
505 too,
Oh yeah,
and
the
the
505.
707.
Yeah. Yeah, 707 is the last thing I bought.
Cool. Beautiful, beautiful sound.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And so
gotcha.
that's a really interesting way of working with on Renoise. I used it briefly like many years ago, can't really remember. Are you recording audio and like different like multi-tracking it and then mixing it in Renoise?
Yeah, so the one of the faults of Renoise is you only have a stereo. You only have like input one and two. You can't have a bunch of different tracks armed. You can only have one thing armed. So I would do it one by one. With actually the Renoise 2 EP, I had this hard rule where everything had to be live. So it was just a stereo out, just everything in the mixer. Um, and so eventually, when I was done, no more rules. I was recording everything one by one, like here's this acid line, and doing a lot of different takes of different filter, different, so like Beach 4, there's so many unused samples, and that's one of the perks of doing all the resampling and recording and trying different things. You end up with 200 samples you didn't use that you could use later or just chuck into another file. Um, so yeah, I'm doing things one by one, and recording them later if they're not acceptable, things like that. But
That's interesting that you brought up those two ways of working. Did when recording everything, with the just like straight to two track. Like that's kind of the classic Aphex way of doing it.
Yeah, that's actually what inspired me to do it, was reading about there was a blurb in an interview about, getting it right the first time with working with destructive or just working with tape. You're forced to make decisions to trust yourself, trust your ear. And so I wanted to learn that, and it worked. I don't even use compression, like I don't want to have those options. So if I like it, then it's good. That's all I try and think about.
And when you were using was that 8 track mixer on Renoise 2? So could you only have like 8 sound sources?
Yes. Yep, it was mini log. I still have the masking tape with all my little instruments on it. Mini log, TD3, drum brute impact, Korg NTS1, GX21. Believe that's it. I didn't even use them all. So I used some of the individual outs on the drum brute for the spare tracks, and distorted the kick,
Yeah.
reverb the hi-hat with my little Alesis reverb. And
And so would you work on one track until it was finished that way?
yes. Yeah. And I'm doing that again now, actually. I'm going back. But yes, even with Renoise 1, I was doing like a song a month basically. And it it was fun. I didn't get to, you know, I would just deep dive into it.
It's really attractive to me because the way that probably most people work, I'm assuming most people work like the way I work, is that, I might start 10 or 15 tracks every month. And then,
Yes.
how many of them ever get finished when you're starting tracks at that rate? Like you're just
Yes.
exponentially getting to like a situation where you've got hundreds of projects and none of them are quite finished. And
Yep.
yeah, it's just very hard to finish anything and not start something new. But if you just have to, you can't start something new because something's, you know, in the middle of
Yeah.
it.
Yes. When with the Renoise 2 tracks, you have all this. Oh, the micro brute also was in there. So you have all these like knob per function machine. You got to keep them that way so they sounds like the song, and that's kind of an incentive to finish. Um, I don't have that anymore, that approach, but it did help. It helps you, okay, I gotta finish this song. And while that can be extremely exhausting and kind of unhealthy times to try and force something, um, it's good to have that state of mind, to know I can get there if I need. Um, it's fun to go that route. You know, at the time though, I didn't know that I could go for a walk to take a break. I was really into just grinding, just you know, listening to the thing on a loop for 2 hours.
How
Just
long
what
would
do I
you
need?
how long would you work like in the studio?
I would say anywhere from 45 minutes to 8 hours, like 8 hours straight. Um, and it took about a month each track, which was pretty cool. And I do have the 150 unfinished things also, from when mostly in Logic, but talking about Renoise, talking about taking way too much time on things.
So now, what are you working on now? Like, are you doing like recording to 2 track or multi-track recordings?
Um, Back in Renoise, kind of same workflow as esports. Using hardware, software, but but yeah. Oh, here's what I did. So we had that live at Giselle's house. We were gonna do an anniversary show. So I got all this music ready on the hardware, on the Syntakt, the MC101, and then we canceled it. And so I had this few really cool things in there, and I meticulously recorded like everything into Renoise, every little track. So I'm resequencing, you know, all the stuff I made with the Syntakt, with the hardware. Um, and it's quite fun, you know, manipulating it in post. More flexible. You can do a lot more corny edits and cheesy stuff. So yeah, I'm working on this epic kind of 6/4 electro thing right now that's all over the place. Um,
Cool. So
and
the original live at Giselle's set, which is also on ZOiD Tracks, check that out. Is this new one like completely different from that, or is it?
similar. It was similar. It was kind of darker, more more G funk, more hip hop.
Cool.
In, in rhythm at least. Yeah, a little more funky DMX sounds. Um,
So
and
send that to me when you finish it.
yes, this track, I'm gonna work on this track, probably release it as a single, um, yeah, after it's mastered, and then keep working on singles. I think is the
Cool.
yeah. I just want to release stuff when it's done at this
Yeah.
point. Um, and then I also been working on. I got the Isla S2400. Uh, it's a SP 1200 kind of continuation spiritual successor box thing.
Yeah,
And
yeah. I had a look at that. You sent me that, and I was
yeah,
like, "Whoa, that looks cool."
yeah, it's got a live looper in it. So I'm in a completely different workflow, you know, making kind of like rock and roll trip hop music with that. It's, you know, using drum breaks. It's like the workflow of a 90s hip hop producer. It's fun. It's weird. There's a lot of menu diving. It's destructive, lots of hiss and pops and clicks. But I'm just rolling with it. And so that's the other thing I'm doing. Um, but for now, it's just Renoise.
Cool.
After taking a year off, you know, it's refreshing.
Yeah. Well, just a couple more things I wanted to ask you
Yeah.
um, about. First, about the like working for longer hours. I've like memories of having great sessions when I was 18, when I'd work like just in, I was living with my parents, and I just like had my equipment in the kind of downstairs den room that was like converted garage, and I would like start at about midnight, and then I just like be making music till 8 a.m. and there would be very like just be absorbed in it so deeply that no idea what I made. I woke up the next day, I'd be like running to hear what it was like because I couldn't even remember. And
Yeah.
I can't do that now because it's just like million distractions. But I think that when you can like get more into it, they call it like deep, deep focus or deep work, just like you're really focused on it and you're doing it for a longer time. And that's when things just flow better and the creativity is really on a different level.
Yeah.
What you reckon?
Yes. That feeling is, I know that feeling you described. I don't get it that the same level that you did, you know, I did in the past. when I would stay up, especially when I was working at night instead of in the morning, because then you can stay up in the witching hour. But yes, I do love that feeling. You rush to hear what you did. There's a glimpse. I know the chords, but I'm like, man, I did a lot last night. Yeah, it's exciting. It like you've said, it feels like it wasn't even you. It's
Yeah.
it was it was something else, moving through you.
So when you like, it's hard to keep on getting yourself into that state. Do you find, or do you find that like you can do it?
I find I can do it, but I have to commit, I have to sit down um for at least an hour, for an hour or so. It's There's a resistance. There's a whole book about the resistance also called what is it? The War of Art. Uh and it's like a self-help book about resisting your calling to your own art, your own craft. And actually Giselle of Giselle's House lent me this book, and it's pretty cool. There's some cool points in it. It's really quick to read. But yeah, committing,
Sounds great.
trusting
I'm gonna
that
check it out.
float state is there. Yeah, yeah, it's cool. Um, but yeah, there's a trust with yourself that flow state can be revisited. Um, it's easy to doubt that because maybe I'll feel as if it's been used up, but no, it's the absorption is still possible. It's just taking that time to get in, put your phone away, drink a lot of coffee if you need, whatever. Uh,
Yeah.
there's little techniques like sometimes I won't eat, so my blood sugar is crazy. Or there's tricks, but yeah, taking breaks every 15 minutes. There's little things, doing push-ups, playing
Yeah.
guitar for 5 minutes. But also, on the other hand, sometimes never taking a break and just, you know, uh, grinding, no break, no anything, tinnitus and all. It's
Yeah.
worth it.
Yeah.
you know.
I think like I probably didn't have any kind of deep focus for like probably the 5 or 6 years until like about a month ago. I was like just kind of reading about this exact thing. I was like, oh man, I'm like, I'm working and I'm phones on and I'm checking messages distracted. Like, yeah, I've got to stop this. So I changed my, you know, environment in terms of I'm in the studio now, phones off, Wi-Fi, turn off the Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
And just like first session I did 90 minutes and it was like way, way better. I was like
Yeah.
guitar, started playing guitar, got an idea, recorded it, made some beats. It was like just went deeper. Like that was definitely
Mhm.
better result from deeper
Yep.
focus. But the other thing is about I'm reading the book Atomic Habits, talking about those kind of
Mhm.
books. That's a good book about habits, but it also mentions getting into flow and things like that. It says that one of the things needed to get into the state of flow is to be at the right challenge level. Where if something is too easy for you, then you'll get bored, and if it's too hard, then you'll get discouraged. So, I mean, I think in order to keep on making music for years and years and years and years, it's kind of interesting because we don't really think about like, oh, I need to challenge myself now, but we're always putting ourselves into that situation, aren't we?
Yes. Yes. Some kind of restriction, some
Yeah,
kind of, you know, using a sound you don't like just to see if you can make it something you like, all sorts of, yeah. And then harmonic challenges too, where little math games where you stack fourths and move them and move this down, move this up, all those little composer games. I would say those are challenges, and making things that are challenging and hearing them enough to where you like them, you know, that's a that's a fun game. Just
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
torture yourself with some serialism.
the new piece of equipment comes, it changes everything. It's like
Yeah.
now you have to learn that. You have to like get to the point where you don't have to think anymore.
Yep.
Constantly learning.
Yeah. Love learning. It's a gift, you know. It's like, yeah, leisure is, I love leisure, but it's fun to, when you're in that workspace, you know, it's like, I'll only have this for so long. I might as well just go really, really hard on it, you know. And then it's,
Is there any pieces of equipment you're got your eye on to get next?
hopefully, no, no, I've went overboard. Um, even after saying this is the last purchase, you know, I keep going and going. The last thing I bought was this Yamaha CK61. It's a 61 key, you know, the Reface series.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a greatest hits of the Reface series put into a big package, and the thing that blew my mind is you can layer any three voices, and they all have independent effects and filter and envelope per voice. So it's kind of like a pseudo D50 in a way, you know, where you can have a transient layer and a pad layer and a piano layer, all with its own effects. The envelopes aren't deep at all, you know. You have just attack and decay, but and the filter is god awful, but you know, it has a really convincing electric pianos and live pianos, you know, fun sounds, rompler type sounds, but they're actually good. And 61 keys, so I get to play piano decently again. I was using just a key step, you know, a little 32 key or whatever. So that thing I've been renoising that thing, and it's really fun. Get that 90s rave piano sound, and, you know, it's got a really nice organ sim with the drawbars. So you can kind of make like pseudo synths with the envelopes.
It does actually have drawbars on it.
Yeah, yeah, it's got
That's
drawbars, so you can do each octave, each harmonic. It's kind of like a Nord you know, Nord Electro. Um,
cool.
not as fancy, but yeah, it's awesome. Layering those voices is just a trip. You know, taking a kalimba sound with a choir sound and a Wurlitzer, putting chorus on the whirly and a flanger on the choir, and all sorts of fun, crazy combos.
And is it like the other refaces where you can't save a preset?
Um, I think, yeah, you can't save a preset on like the CP reface. On the DX you can, and
Oh,
that's the coolest one. But
yeah. I'd love to get one of those ones. I had the CS reface CS, and sounded really good, but
mm,
I didn't think it translated well when I recorded it. So then I swapped it for something else, but kind of regret swapping it.
yeah,
Want it back.
the slider, those sliders are awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Always keep your equipment.
Yeah,
That's what I say.
yeah. I got rid of my Digitakt, and I now when I listen to what worship music, I it gives me gas because I hear what I made on it.
Worship music, was that sequenced on the Digitakt?
Yeah, that was Digitakt, Syntact, MC101 all together, which is the ultimate combo for me. If I'm ever gonna do that again, that's the be all end all for me. It's just so flexible, and yeah, I miss the Digitakt, but I have the Syntact, so I get that flavor. I get the P-lock still and all that, but god dang, the Digitakt's a beautiful piece of equipment. You got one.
Yeah, I sold mine.
Oh, you sold it. Oh,
I didn't
nice.
regret selling that one actually. I just never really used it that much because I just had enough other sequencer. I did, when working on the sequencer on the Digitakt, I felt like it wasn't good for song at the song pattern level. I was
No,
running out of.
Yeah, it's more for jamming.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which, yeah, two different, whole different, epic Renoise track versus, 10-minute repetitive jam with muting and unmuting. They're both
Yeah.
really fun, but
Yeah.
neither can I perform live and have fun really. Live at Giselle's house was the first time I did it, so it was really fun. And then I tried to do it again this summer with those tracks on worship music, and I just did not feel engaging, just muting, unmuting. That's it. Um, but I could have improvised more, but I was kind of stuck. I made the mistake of recording all of those, like to car test them, and so I got used to them, and I had developed an idea of what they should sound like. So when I went to perform them, there was already, you know, that track existed in my
Yeah.
mind. So yeah, there was no way to get it right. But I'm gonna take my plans are to take everything I've made in the Syntact, record it into Renoise, and just make extreme versions of them, Renoise mixes.
Cool. And what about on the band side? Are you gonna gig this Daft Punk set on New Year's Eve?
Oh, yeah, I'm just playing guitar. Um, it's gonna be fun. We're doing most like live at random access memory stuff. So I'm just now Rogers on my Stratocaster.
Cool.
Uh, yeah, that's gonna be great. Uh, and it's pretty extensive. Like we got one of the members has a bunch of equipment, so we've got like synths, electric pianos, three vocoders, just off the chain, you know, ridiculous setup. Ugh, scary. But yeah, just me and the jazz chorus.
And 2024, any new projects coming?
Um, Maybe I'm trying to get this thing going. I'm not really trying, but I've been wanting to do this all improv, just transgressive, stupid, loud band thing. I don't know who would be down though, but
Like completely improvised on stage?
yeah, yeah, like no fear, just go and mock everything kind of
Yeah,
thing. But
I think that is like in a live, I think I said that to you before, actually, my theory of like when you're performing live, the more improvised, the better.
yes,
Like
that's
so
how I feel.
risky. Yeah, in the moment, it's like what's gonna happen, nobody knows.
Yes, and it's more I don't know the word. You're playing off of each other in much more of a exciting way, It's
Yeah,
like, what is this gonna do? What's the drummer gonna think when I do this thing? Or, I'm gonna play this a half step away from this person, so it sounds awful, just fun. You can do so many fun things like that and then read each other. It's beautiful. Yeah, playing regular music's fun, but it just doesn't feel risky enough. It doesn't feel like I'm doing anything. Like
yeah.
it's just like tepid and mediocre to play some soft rock. Um, Especially if I'm going out of the way to like go to a gig and play for free. It's like, why not do something stupid? Something just yeah, something icky. Um, I don't like punk music, but when I talk about it like that, it sounds like that's what I want to do. Uh, yeah, but having a bass player and a drummer who are down to take those risks, that's the maybe the hard part, you know.
Have you found
But
someone yet?
no, no, I haven't really looked. I have a few people who might be down, but if I do anything live, that's what I want to do. Is, that or just be like a someone's guitar player. Like but that'd be a money thing. If I ever wanted money, be like Rihanna's guitar player.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a dream. Let me take my covers off.
Yeah, maybe
Really
like, well, studio tour.
Yeah, a little gas, little credit card, no self control tour here. Let's
Nice.
see. Yeah, you come in. We got the GT5. Just got that. We got the jazz course. There's the BX8 we talked about. Love it.
Cool.
Um, we got the Isla sitting here in limbo. This thing's beautiful. Another Apex gas score. The CR, what was it? CR4. It's got amp modeling and built-in speakers.
Whoa.
So you
What
can,
is it, like a
yeah,
tape recorder?
yeah, 4 track. I don't. The tape in here is blank right now, so I have nothing,
4-track tape
nothing on
recorder. Nice.
it. With amp modeling. Got the mini log, the Bitterman. This thing is amazing. It's got all these mangling effects and a one knob limiter.
Huh.
Um,
Never heard of that.
yeah. Got the what is the fake devilfish.
Huh.
Uh, Shout out to Behringer. Got this Syntact with the deck saver.
Cool.
My least favorite thing ever, but I keep buying it and selling it. The SP. Stupid. Don't get it. This is just my utility, actually decent mixer. Here's that CK I taught you about.
Oh,
Uh,
nice.
yeah, it's got organ action too. MC 101. Love this thing. My laptop, French horn.
French horn.
Uh,
That is something you don't see in every studio.
you ever do Nashville tuning on an acoustic guitar?
What's Nashville tuning?
It's a 12 string basically with the low strings off. So the first three are an octave higher. Um,
Weird.
yeah, right. Something else. But yeah, that's it. And then a sparkly strats in my bass in my bedroom. So can't show you that.